Welcome back to our coverage of the Ghana Football Association presidential election. And in some minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour, we'll know who will be the next president of the Ghana Football Association, because voting is done. Counting is currently underway. We'll be crossing over, speaking to my colleague Benedict Owusu-Dankwa, who is inside the premises, as we try to find out who the next president of the Ghana Football Association will be. So it does appear that counting is probably even over, and the declaration of the result should happen any moment from now. Let's go over to Benedict Owusu-Dankwa, who joins us on the telephone line, as we try to get further update on this development, the counting process, and the possible declaration of the results. Hello, Benedict.
Yes, so as I speak to you now, counting is ongoing. They are done with us of 32. We had 44 votes.
Right.
And as we are going through with the free counting, as you can see on the screen, that's exactly what is happening here. So Ketukuku had 44. What it means is that 44, even if the others should be less, that will not make him the president of the FA, because for the statutes you must have 60 plus 1, 60 plus 1, making 61. So the counting of the FA is what is going on currently.
Oh, really interesting. And tell us the mood, gauge the mood for us. Inside the premises, we can see George Friye in our shot looking quite tense, I must say. What is the general mood inside the premises?
All of them, everybody is looking on clearly. They are all watching very well to see what will happen. So, well, it's one that you wouldn't want to be here. It's one that you wouldn't want to be here, because, I mean, the candidates as well as their supporters are very, very tense as they look on with the presiding officers counting the votes.
And the voting, went by pretty quickly, I must say. It was done just about under an hour, if I'm correct.
Exactly, because the number of people that are voting are not many. So the number of people that are voting are not many. That's exactly what happened. I mean, everybody, and there's 3 ballots. They actually provided 3 ballot booths here. So you just go in, you cast your ballots, and then you put it in a ballot box and you go away. So that's why the process was able to go through very quickly.
All right, and Benedict,
so,
yeah,
they're almost through with that of George Friye, and George had 40. George Friye had 40 votes as against 44 for Ketukuku. Wow, it's getting interesting.
Wow,
it's getting interesting here. So what it means is that I think that we go around off. There will be a runoff in this election.
Benedict, say that again. Can you confirm that there will be a runoff?
I'm saying that George had 40 as against Ketukuku 44. So if there's anything to go by, then there will be a runoff here. Okay,
right. Benedict Owusu-Dankwa, we'll come to you for more, but you're seeing live images inside the auditorium of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, where the Ghana Football Association presidential election has been ongoing. Voting is done. Counting is currently underway. The man whose back is on the screen now, George Friye, former vice president of the Ghana Football Association, polling 40 votes. And Ketukuku, his votes were counted earlier on. He polled 44 votes. And so from what we are getting from my colleague Benedict Owusu-Dankwa, we are very likely to have a runoff. 40 votes for George Friye, 44 from Ketukuku. Let's go inside the venue as we continue with the counting.
4, 5, 6. Red purple. Six.
Hello. The next candidate is Nanaya Amponsa. Candidate number 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
Manable. Mike.
Sit down, sit down, sit down. Sit down. Bye. Sit down.
Hello, delegates. We need to have some order. Please, please, please. Everybody take your seat. Everybody take your seat. Hey, cameramen. Please, switch off your cameras. Order, please. Everybody take your seat. Quiet, please, order. Camera people. We have the record. By yeah. 4, 3. Count and declare. Hello, please, order. Officers, please get the camera people out of here. Please. All of them. Except the GTV cameras. Please get all of them out of here. Yeah. Get all the camera people out. Police officers, get all the camera people out of the room. All of them, get him out of there. Police officers, please do your work for us. Get the camera people out. Everybody take your seat, please. Police officer. Hey, sir, please do some work. Get everybody to sit down. Please, that's why we're here. Police people, Can you do your work for us? Get everybody sitting in their seat, please. You're not here to just stand. You got to do some work. Order, please. Everybody take your seat, please.
Hello, hello.
Hello? Yeah. Where are we?
Thank you very much for joining us and staying with us here on JoyNews channel on Multi TV and also on channel 421 on DSTV. Well, what has happened here is that voting is over, counting is also done, and there are results. I'll go over to my men here in our studio here at the College of Physicians and Surgeons so they can bring us up to speed. Gary, what has happened here, inside the hall?
120 delegates have cast their votes. They went through the procedure, and in the end, Keto Kreku, who was first on the ballot box, had his votes counted. He had 44 of the votes. 44 of the votes. George Efrie, who is second on the ballot box, had his votes counted. He has 40 of the votes as well. 40 of the votes. Nanaya Amponsa had 27 of the votes. Fred had 6 of the votes.
Wow. Interesting turn of events. So it just tells us very immediately that the speculation that we were having, or the analysis that we did earlier about Kurt and George Efrie being the front runners, surely has come to pass.
Excellently. And what was surprised a lot is how many votes Nana Yawan was able to get from this. He got 27 votes, and it definitely points to the fact that we said Division 1 wasn't won. And even when we thought Premier League was won, we have realized that Premier League wasn't won. Because if George had a number of Premier League clubs, we thought it wasn't in there. So I think clearly it's been very, very tight.
Okay, so we will go now to the main auditorium for more regarding the decision on what will happen next.
The least votes. In this case, people got 0. They will not participate in the next round. All right, let's get the boxes ready and go to the second round. Please, order. Let's have some civility.
Okay, so this is going to be the procedure. The 4.
Happen next. Gentlemen, so Dr. Kofi Amwa just announced that we're going into our next round of voting.
So per the rules, as was announced by now Odofole, what's going to happen is that the last person, in terms of the numbers, will go out. The last person will go out. And then
before you continue, remember that
again.
This is purely by percentages and not necessarily by numbers in terms of popularity.
They will still tally.
Into percentages.
Anyway, so that's essentially what's going to happen. So what was happening is that George Efrie, who's just passing by the way, George Efrie, Keto Kreku, Fred Papo, Nanaya Amponsa will go into another round of voting. I'm not exactly sure how many votes Amanda Clinton got, and George Ankoma got at the moment. But whoever was the last person will go out, and then we'll have another round of voting. So we are going into the voting booth again.
George, tell me, are you surprised at the turn of events in any way?
Not too surprised, because from the ground we knew that was coming up. My only worry is how much the second round will change from the first round. The two who have been, evicted from the next round had up to 3 votes.
But you see, the thing is that there were rules.
I agree with the rule. I have no problem with the rule. I'm just wondering how this will go because, it's margins, isn't it? Unless there's going to be a lot of, campaigning all of a sudden and the numbers will change, but clearly we still have the 3 main men in.
Because what can happen is that Fred Papo had 6 votes, remember. If either of George Friye
before it is issued to you. Is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That changes the dynamics.
Let's see.
All right. Now, tell me, if you were in Fred Papo's shoes, for instance, I mean, in this segment of all of it, if you were in his shoes, what would you have done? Would you throw your weight behind a candidate? What would you do? Would you still go ahead?
He could. It's difficult.
You don't even know who voted for you.
You don't know who voted for you, so you don't even know which candidate you are going to talk to and say vote for this. Everybody goes out there, reinforce whatever you did before, and try to speak. Because even Anaya Amponsa has a chance with 27 going into the next one. Yeah. 27 was a big one for him, and he could go into it. So it's very open, I think. All
right, so we've seen some activity away from here, and we can immediately tell you that the likes of Mr. Vincent Soaudote, Yaon Pofoankra, who represents beach soccer, who has 1 vote in there, and a few other personalities are having a bit of a caucus meeting. So I see Nana Yaon also walk by.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly the discussion is about, and I've seen
it's
Mr.
just
Frank
going to be a lot of lobbying.
As well.
It's going to be a lot of lobbying at the moment. So Nana Amponsa is right here. I wish our cameras could. Mr. Kwakwa.
Kwakwa.
Mr. Kwakwa.
Kwakwa.
Noble gesture from one of the thing to go on smoothly. He has rescinded his interest. So now we have 3 contestants for the next round. Yeah. We are going to give the 3 remaining candidates 3 minutes each to come here and say something if they want to. So those of you who have, where are they? Get the candidates back in here. Mr. Papo has dropped out, so we have 3 remaining candidates. I understand they're outside when they come back to the room.
minds of delegates. You cannot stand somewhere and say, I will for pie, or I have 80 votes, no, somebody's time is not due. But here is a case, we've played the first half. You have 44 and you have 40. And then if you are looking at any measure, it should come from Nanaya's camp to our camp. So we are home and dry.
What do you mean? Who? Which camp is this?
Keto, of course, yes. So we are in talks. As of now, we are in talks. They'll call us again to go and vote, and we'll see what we do.
To make my salary to come back.
Okay.
But it's a very good
contest.
Contest.
Okay. So second round.
Come and vote second round.
Second round. Who do you think is going to take the lead?
That one is in Marty Allah's hands, not me.
But
I'm not kingmaker.
Yes, that's true.
I'm voting.
But so far, Ket and George Free, I mean, have their messages gotten to you so far?
This is what I told them already. We have the selected one for we to follow him to do, not giving their money out for some people don't have work to do, collecting money here and here. That's what they want.
Okay, thank you, Aladi. Uncle Frank.
I'm looking for.
I know you are looking for Fred Papo, but how is it going for you so far?
Well, it's going well.
Okay, and I see you talking to Nanaya. Are you looking at a possible merger?
Well, I mean, this is an election, so everything is possible.
Who are you looking at merging him with?
Well, we have not decided anything. He has to take a decision. He's a man. He has invested in the game. He has done the business, so he knows what he wants.
Okay, but I mean, George and Ket, it looks like. Which of them?
All my colleagues, what the decision will depend what I will follow, because he's a man.
Okay, thank you.
Wait for me. Yeah. I'm going to get Nana. I said I'm going to get him. All right. Please don't talk to me.
Let's go and play. So this is the man of the moment, Nanaya Amponsa, and everybody is going to need his 27 votes to add up to theirs. And we'll see how that goes. What's been happening so far? What do you make of it?
Oh, this should tell you that you cannot play with the minds of delegates. You cannot stand somewhere and say, I will for pie, or I have 80 votes, no, somebody's time is not due. But here is a case, we've played the first half. You have 44 and you have 40. And then if you are looking at any measure, it should come from Nanaya's camp to our camp. So we are home and dry.
What do you mean? Who? Which camp is this?
Keto, of course, yes. So we are in talks. As of now, we are in talks. They'll call us again to go and vote, and we'll see what we do.
To make my salary to come back.
Okay.
But it's a very good
contest.
Contest.
Okay. So second round.
Come and vote second round.
Second round. Who do you think is going to take the lead?
That one is in Marty Allah's hands, not me.
But
I'm not kingmaker.
Yes, that's true.
I'm voting.
But so far, Ket and George Free, I mean, have their messages gotten to you so far?
This is what I told them already. We have the selected one for we to follow him to do, not giving their money out for some people don't have work to do, collecting money here and here. That's what they want.
Okay, thank you, Aladi. Uncle Frank.
I'm looking for.
I know you are looking for Fred Papo, but how is it going for you so far?
Well, it's going well.
Okay, and I see you talking to Nanaya. Are you looking at a possible merger?
Well, I mean, this is an election, so everything is possible.
Who are you looking at merging him with?
Well, we have not decided anything. He has to take a decision. He's a man. He has invested in the game. He has done the business, so he knows what he wants.
Okay, but I mean, George and Ket, it looks like. Which of them?
All my colleagues, what the decision will depend what I will follow, because he's a man.
Okay, thank you.
Wait for me. Yeah. I'm going to get Nana. I said I'm going to get him. All right. Please don't talk to me.
Let's go. So this is the man of the moment, Nanaya Amponsa, and everybody is going to need his 27 votes to add up to theirs. And we'll see how that goes.
Well, we expected as a production team to have wrapped up by now, but of course they say man proposes and God disposes. Well, it's a bit of a situation here at the College of Physicians and Surgeons where we're looking forward to seeing who will win that 50+1% of all the votes cast to become the next president of the Ghana Football Association. A couple of scenarios could play out here as we go into a second round of voting. But of course, joining us here is Joy Sports' Benedict Owusu, who has been in the main hall where all of the action is. Gary Al Smith remains here with us as we do the analysis of what to expect as we go into a second round of voting. But I can assure you that if you're here, then you see the highest height of lobbying, lobbying, and lobbying at the last minute for favor and for votes. Gentlemen, interesting scenario playing out here, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I mean, if you're in there and you should look at the body language of the candidates, George Efrie, Ketokriku, as well as Nana Yao. I think George, initially coming into this election, was so confident that he was going to win. And I'm sure it came to him as a surprise when Ket's number was announced, the 44. He then had to lean back in his seat because I was very, looking at them. Ket was laughing, was very much okay because after the sorting out, I saw Aminu Shado, who is in Ket's camp, making gestures of him being in a comfortable lead. So he was very much okay, but George didn't seem to be very okay because his projection was that he was going to get not less than 75 votes, which would have ensured, the over 60% or 50+1% for him to be declared winner in this election. So it's very interesting. And the other thing to have to add is Fred Papo. He pulled 6 votes. And honorably, he says he's not going to contest the round of. Per the FA statute, what happens is we have 6 candidates. So we start from the bottom. Now, Amanda did not get any votes as well as George and Kuma, so automatically they are out of the runoff. So ideally, it would have been between George, Ket, Nanaya and Ponsan, and then Fred Papo. But he had 6 and says, well, he thanked the congressmen and those that voted for him that he doesn't want to have anything to do with that again, and that he will leave the decision to those that voted for him, whoever they want to vote, that's fine. But he's not interested. He's no longer interested in contesting for the position again. Nanea has not said anything yet. I want to believe that a few of them are going to go through. And what's on the ballot paper, you see, we still have the 6 because the 6 pictures and names were printed on the ballot paper, so they cannot be changed. The only thing the presiding officer would have to do is to educate the delegates that we have 6 people on the ballot paper, but based on so and so, Amanda Clinton, George, and Kuma are not there. Now Fred Papo is not there. So when you take the paper, instead of the 6, focus on the first 3. Then unfortunately for us, we have them in that order, with the exception of I think it's Fred Papo that is 3rd, and Nanayao is 5th. So now you would have to look over that of Nanayao as well as Amanda Clinton, and then if you want to vote for Nanayao, then you go to number 5. So, but with Ket and George is in that order 1 and 2. So that will be much easier for the delegates, those that want to vote for any of these guys. But in terms of the projection and everything that is going on, it will be interesting. But we should also add that should another tie or possibly maybe not get, a candidate not get the 50+1 percentage, what it means is that this very process will be suspended until further notice. And that will be now, at least they have a quorum of 10 members already that make the executive council. So what will happen is the executive council will have to convene another congress, another elective congress, for them to get a new leader. So it's up to them to see how they will do it. If they will go through and get a leader this afternoon. And it will be interesting because Kurt had 44. Now Fred Papo says he's not going. So even if George should have that six, it will be 46. Still, he will not make it. If Kurt should get the 6, 44, 50, he still will not make it. So they need votes from Nanaya Amponsa, the 27 that voted for Nanaya Amponsa, to go through before they can get it done. So, Nat, whichever way you look at it, it's very interesting, and we'll see how it will go.
All right, so we are just doing some analysis on what's happened so far. We're getting ourselves ready for a, we're getting ourselves ready for a second round of voting. As you can see, Kato Kreku, who had the most votes, was there in your shots, looking pretty, ready to go and pretty calm and collected. So we will see what happens. But a second round of voting has started, and as the format goes, a name will be mentioned, the club which you represent, and then you come up, sign, and then you get to cast your vote. Now, as it started off, the Premier League clubs will get their turn first, after which we'll go to the Division 1 clubs, and then the constituent bodies. That's the order in which the voting will be going. And of course, Amanda Clinton, obviously very cool and calm. She has seen, she knows her fate at this time, having a conversation with Na Odofole Norte. Of course, the man in the with the spectacles lifted on top of his head is lawyer Frank Davis, who headed the vetting committee of the for this election. So a lot happening right now, and we're just getting ourselves ready for the second round of it. It's actually started, so we will be monitoring, and we'll be bringing you the figures just like they are supposed to be presented. So this is the continuous coverage of the Ghana FA's election, and we've been joined here by Charles Kojo Ntim, who is known in football circles as Mickey Charles, and he's also a delegate. He's got thoughts to share with us. He represents Techiman City from the second tier. Charles, thank you very much for your time. It's been a long day for all of us so far.
Yeah.
Have you been surprised at the turn of events?
I'm not surprised. Now, yesterday we had a meeting. I had a meeting with you yesterday, and I told you there was not going to be a clear-cut winner for today's elections because we have been in this game since 2005. I was around when Kwesigan Techi had his elections with Y. Ibrahim, and I saw how it went. In 2011, we saw what happened in the executive committee elections as well. And so this morning on our Senpai FM, I told Moshosho that none of the candidates is going to win the 50+1 votes. And he asked me why. I said, look at the dynamics. You have Nanaya Amponsa, you have Keto Kreku, and then you have George Free. Now, Fred Papo, who is even the dark horse in the, how do you call it, the elections, got 6 votes. So Fred Papo is going to push it to a second round. Because if you have Fred Papo's 6 votes and Nanaya Amponsa's 27 votes, it means you have 33 votes, plus either George Free's 44, 40 making it 73, or Keto Kreku's 44 plus the 33, making it 77. So automatically you become the president of the Ghana Football Association. But you know these delegates will never tell you, I'm going to vote for Nats at all, or going to vote for Evans or whoever it is. But you can read from their faces, because I have been in partisan politics, and I know how these things work. You talk to the delegates, you ask them questions, and then you can look from their demeanor exactly where it is going. So per my calculations yesterday, as at 12 midnight, I told a few friends that we are not going to have a 50+1 vote. So I was not surprised we had 50. We had this result.
What you're also suggesting to us is that we're not going to have a 50+1 vote even after the second round of voting.
It depends. It depends on what Nanaya Amponsa decides. And in situations like this, you need people who have the negotiation skills. Because you cannot just go to Nanaya Amponsa and tell Nanaya Amponsa, I want you to step down for me so I can become the new FA president. It needs a lot of, how do you call it, negotiation skills. So you have to convince Nanaya Amponsa why he has to throw his support behind you. You need to convince Fred Papo why you need his 6 votes. And I believe that is what they are doing now. And if any of the candidates convinces Nana Amponsah to throw his support, it means that candidate will become the new FA president. But I hear Nana Amponsah still being adamant. So it means if you even go to this, how do you call it, the second round, and there's still not a clear cut of 50+1, it means the elections will have to be postponed.
Wow, interesting stuff turning out here at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. Voting is underway, as I've mentioned to you, and we're just waiting patiently to see what will turn out over here regarding the results. Now, Benedict, what has been your observation of what has gone on the ground? And I'll pose the same question to, Mickey, because he is a delegate and he has been at the receiving end of a lot of courting. You tell me first what you saw in the hall. Then we come to Charles.
You know, it's a small community, 118 people voting. And it makes it easier for you to go to everybody, at least call each person. In a general election instance where Nanado cannot call every Ghanaian, to speak to or meet one-on-one, this is very different. So at the point where the results were announced, that they realized there was going to be a runoff, quickly you saw the candidates as well as the people following them trying to, speak to other people to see if they can at least get their support. And at this point, as Mickey rightly noted, it's going to be difficult because Fred Papo is out. At least the 6 votes that he has left, definitely the 3 candidates, each will either get, or one will get, or will be shared amongst the 2. But even if that should happen, it means we are still not going to get it. So I really cannot tell what is it that the delegates will go in there and do. Maybe Mickey will be in the right position to tell us this. I only hope and pray that the process will be able to, end today for us to get a president, not for us to go through all this again. It has happened before, right? Or it has never happened?
Yeah, it has never happened. That was at the executive committee level. Yeah. That was 2011 when Kujo Fianu, Chireme, Randy Abe, and there was another delegate. They all had 9 votes each. So it means there was a second round.
Well, even yesterday, something similar happened because the RFAs.
But at the presidential level,
it has never happened.
It has never happened. I mean, the one between Kwesi Nyantakyi and Y. Ibrahim, it was postponed because during the executive committee elections, something happened and people thought if Kwesi Nyantakyi had stood that day, he would have lost the elections. Yeah. So it was postponed to, I think, 1 week or 2 weeks, and then we had the elections and then Kwesi Nyantakyi.
But in terms of, the mood, it's that of a very tense atmosphere. I mean, even when the elections was going on, when delegates were casting their votes, myself that I'm not even a delegate, I could feel the tension in the room, and I'm sure Mickey will attest to that fact. I mean, you look at the candidates, their body language, their posture, and it tells you that this is no joke. It is no joke because some have gone on, as I noted earlier, if you've done your projection, and I mean, speaking to 118 people, you could easily do your projection and say, out of that 118, I'll get 50. I'll get 20, based on the promises and everything that they've shown. And then you go and it's counted and you don't even get that number.
For instance, yesterday, Randy Abe told me he was going to have 38 votes in the executive committee election. And I told him, Randy, it's not going to be easy. I know you're going to sail through, but you're not going to have 38 votes as you have predicted for yourself. Eventually, he had 26 votes. Because these delegates, they can come to you and assure you we are voting for you. But when you speak to other people behind the scenes, they tell you a different story. So you can read between the lines and see exactly what they'll be doing. So even though Randy had the highest vote of 26 votes, but he realized that these delegates cannot be trusted.
Now, tell me something. What has been happening, in these last 30 minutes? As we heard the results, it was dispersed, so we reconvene. As a delegate, what have you noticed? Who has come to you, and what have they said to you?
Almost all of them have come to me. I just spoke to George Free about 10 minutes ago before coming to your studios here, and then I spoke to Keto Kreku too as well. I'm yet to meet Nana Amponsah. So let me go in there and see what happens. I'll get back to you.
But what would you do?
Well,
it depends on who negotiates and negotiates well.
But so far, he's met at least 2. So tell us.
So I'm meeting Nana Amponsah. Maybe
no, but the two that you've met between Keto and George.
Let me go in first and I'll get back to you.
You don't have to meet Nana Amponsah.
Mickey, tell me something. So if you say negotiation and based on what I am told, what are we talking about here? What are you looking out for in these candidates?
Yeah, you're looking at the other candidates, how they can convince you. I mean, you have to tell me what you're going to do for Ghana football. Why I have to vote for you.
Don't you have those messages already?
I have those messages. But in the second round, you have to renegotiate and then tell me something different. Maybe the reason why I did not vote for you was the way you spoke to me earlier. So you have to tell me something that is convincing. And it's just going to lobby a girl. I mean, you go for the first time, second time. The third time, you have to know how you're going to negotiate and then your raps, as we used to call it.
Okay, so I'm sure Benedict will make use of those kinds of, those lectures from you.
So let me go to the studio and I'll get back.
Very well, very well. There we go. That's the man, Randy Abe on your screens there. He's having a conversation with George Afriyie there. And we immediately cannot tell what it is that they're discussing. But there is a lot of high-level consultation. There's a lot of lobbying, as I mentioned. And there are loads of last-minute promises. I don't know what kinds of promises are being made at this time. George Afriyie is now consulting with the board chairman of Accra Great Olympics, His Excellency Amaka Amate Fio, who was once the chairman of the Ghana Boxing Authority and who has led Accra Great Olympics for years now as their board chairman. So a lot of consultations ongoing, a lot of conversations ongoing. As to who will make the difference is a very big deal here. Of course, we can also see ex-Ghana international Derek Boateng, who is part of George Afriyie's campaign team. He's also there, and they're all having the conversations together. So right now, George Afriyie is making his way up into the main hall. Remember, there's a second round of voting ongoing. And remember, it's a bit of a slow grinding process because the names have to be mentioned by the electoral officer. The delegate comes up, registers their name, and then they go and vote. There are special rules for this because on the ballot paper, we have 6 names, as Benedict mentioned earlier. And so it means that every delegate will have to come in knowing very well that we have 3 persons taking part in this round of the voting. So we'll see how all of it pans out. We're still here covering and bringing to you live pictures from the College of Physicians and Surgeons as we bring you this year's edition of the Ghana FA elections. Remember, this is a process that happens 4 times or every 4 years, I beg your pardon. It happens every 4 years. And all of this is happening after that big tsunami that hit Ghana football, after the number 12 documentary put together by Anas Arimea, Anas, which brought up a lot of hidden stories of corruption and a lot of hidden stories of underhand dealings regarding how, sponsorships are even, secured for the Ghana FA. So a lot to discuss here. Very shortly, George Addo Jr. and Gary Al Smith will be joining me. So we have the conversations here. We'll be doing some analysis of the numbers as well. And so George Addo Jr. has joined me here in the studio. George, it's going to be a long grinding process. And Papse took an early decision that, look, you know something, let me just call it quits here and let me just observe what happens from here.
Yeah, because with 6 votes, you needed close to 54 votes to get to the point where you can be declared the Ghana Football Association president. And it would have been in his interest to know that he's not a key contender in this race. We respect him for that decision. The only thing he did not do, though, is declare where his votes were going to. So the votes are out there for you to fight, if you can fight. The next thing is that, of course, Amanda Clinton and George Ankama were not really going to push this election anywhere. But Nanaya Amponsa is still in the race. And that makes it a lot more problematic because George had 40 votes, Kets had 44 votes, Nanaya Amponsa had 27 votes. So by a long while, if you have the 3 of them in there, not so much you feel is going to change. We probably are going to see another round because you are looking at how many votes, even if one of Kets or George takes all Fred Papo's votes, it's clearly not enough to hit what we are looking out for. So it's a big one out there. And once Nanaya Amponsa is still in the race, it means that we might not, unless all of a sudden those who voted for Nanaya Amponsa decide to move elsewhere. That will be interesting, having realized that, okay, our candidate has too many votes to make it, 33 more votes to make it, so then they move. If we don't see that sudden change, I think we'll still come up around 50, 48 thereabouts, and another, and we'll go back for another one. It's interesting the way it's panned out, but if you were following the analysis closely, it was supposed to be this. But to be fair, I think Team George would be slightly hit to know that they had 40 votes, very much below it. But it's not over, and it's all for the guys to go out there and get the job sorted out. It should be a very difficult one going through this.
All right, now, when we say negotiation in politics, it's a totally different ball game. Now, negotiation means different things. Negotiation means going up to someone and making a case to them, and negotiation could also mean money. Is money playing a role in this election from what you've picked up on the ground?
It's difficult to say it did play a role, or it's difficult to say it did not play a role, but the truth is everybody paid money, everybody gave money out, so the delegates were the receiving end anyway, so the delegates still had to make the decision. What is happening to Palmer's votes is a one to ask. What's happening to Palmer's votes?
Exactly what I was coming to.
Where did it go to? It looked like Ketz had he had a massive upsurge in votes, if you look at it, because I don't think he even expected to get 44. So it was a massive, all of a sudden there was an upsurge in the number of votes that he's got. And Nana Yaw Amponsah as well with 27 was pretty emphatic as well. So it looked like there was a split with the Palmer votes of the sort. And now the next question is, where will the next set of votes, go to? Will Nana Yaw, those who voted for Nana Yaw, stay true to what they did and vote again, or will Fred Papple's votes, go elsewhere? I'm sure these are the things that will make a big difference in the second round, which is critical. But I think if what we are looking at is right, we may end up going to the third round.
Wow. Well, a third round is also possible, but after the third round, we would have to call it a day, but have to wait for the Executive Council to meet and put together or organize another date for an elective Congress. And of course, from my point of view, we would hope and we would wish that all of it is wrapped up today, but, well, from what we see on the ground, there's a very high possibility that we could go, along that tangent. George, let's talk about a few other things. What have been the major takeouts for you from today's, happenings so far over here? What are the things that have caught your attention the most?
I think that a lot of delegates maybe changed their minds, very late on. And you want to say that the confidence push of George maybe affected him along the way in terms of the interviews he was granting and talking about the numbers that he had already and talking about 70 and 80, and you realize that you have 40. So I think that the delegates probably on the ground today made a lot of changes to what they were going to do, because this is a surprising result, and we're yet to find out what happens in the next round.
Wow, interesting stuff there. So if you just joined us, we're bringing you the live coverage of the GFA election here at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. As we speak to you, a second round of voting is ongoing in the main hall. We're looking forward to seeing if one of three candidates can make it and get that 50+1 percentage that everybody's looking forward to call it a contest. Well, as it stands now, it is George Efriye who polled a total of 44 votes. 40 votes. George Efriye got 40 votes. Keto Kreku got 44, and Nana Yaw Amponsah on 26. 27, okay. So this is how it's looking right now, and it surely lies with the delegates to make this decision. Now, also, it's surprising. It's a bit surprising that after all the talking that, for instance, lawyer Ankuma Mensah did, he didn't get anybody convinced.
No, yeah. Football is still about constituencies. Football is still about what the delegates think they will get. And I think that in as much as he was saying it, I think that, well, very much he was an outsider coming into this one. And the same could be said for Amanda as well. So it's a bit of a surprise that this happened. If he got a number of votes, that we could have said that yes. Or if he did get a number of votes, that we could have said there was a surprise in our. But aside that, I think that things have been fairly okay in what we saw. Amanda Clinton and George were really not going to get anything coming out. I'm not sure about it. So it's just the way it's supposed to be.
Wow. Now let's also talk about the decisions that have been taken, especially that bit of expanding the league to 18 teams. That's amazing. And eventually, I mean, if the season wraps up, the coming season, which is the 2019-2020 season wraps up, it surely is going to be a very big blow for a lot of teams. I mean, as many as 5 will have to go into the second tier.
Yes, and it will be up to the Ghana Football Association and the new body, the Executive Council, and of course the Premier League Board, to decide what they want to do with it. it's tight. And I said normally you want to be on either one of the edges. You want to do the 16 teams or you want to do the 20 teams. I mean, coming into the 18, it's just a problem, and I'm sure that they will try and find a way, but it's definitely complicated. And so they'll have to try and sort it out. But it's complicated to say that. And I feel like they went the easier route to trying to solve the cases in court.
Well, let's also talk about, you know, the kind of administration that you're looking forward to seeing after all of this. There are a few messages that the football delegates have sent to us, that they have gone beyond the era where they vote en bloc, so that in the Nyantichi era, you'd see delegates go to Congress and unanimously decide that Kwesi Nyantichi was the man. Now you see a bit of a spread, indicating that now football people are thinking differently.
Yes, they are thinking differently. Not too differently, but they are thinking differently. And because of the options available to them at the moment, so they need to make a decision on what they have to do and going forward. In the times past, they didn't have the opportunity to make that decision because they were often presented with just one candidate. So we're seeing much of what we saw in 2005 happening all again, you know, happening all over again. And we'll be sure to find out where this actually turns. It's going to be absolutely tight.
Well, all right, so a lot of activity on ground here. The voting is going on smoothly, and a lot of media personnel are here as well. They are, you know, working around it and waiting for the declaration of the second set of results to give us who our next FA president will be. Now, many ideas have been traded, many ideas have been brought forth, many ideas have been taken to the people who are there and are voting. And now, based on that, everybody is taking a decision or two. So a lot of buzzing activity here on the ground floor at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. It has hardly happened like this in decades. Now, what has happened in the past is that we've had the delegates go over to Congress and probably unanimously vote for whoever will become the president. So there's a new turn of events. There's a lot more show of interest, and there's bigger coverage of all of this that's happening here. Like I mentioned to you, many other media houses have also set up here and are doing same, showing you that now many people are more interested and they're looking forward to seeing that new look Ghana Football Association that many of us have been talking about. And we will be observing very closely whoever takes over, and we'll be observing the policy documents, and we'll be matching them and taking them to task on what it is that should be expected, because, you know, many promises have been made. There are those that have been projected for the start of the regime, which is once they're sworn in and once work begins, they hit the ground running. And so we will be monitoring, we will be gauging them by the first 50 days, by the first 100 days, just as we have done for the presidency, because the lead up to this has gone purely like a political campaign, and we will also, you know, task all of these leaders by the high standards. Remember that after this election, one of the things that will be happening will be the Executive Council's decision and another round of voting to decide who will become vice president. Now, these are the dynamics. In times like these, when many negotiations go on, there is also the bit about lobbying for positions like that. Now, as we have our new set of Executive Council members, there are those who have had promises from some candidates that they will ensure that they are voted for to become vice presidents. So going into this phase of the FA's life, there are those on the Executive Council, numbering more than one, I can confirm because we've had conversations, who are also expecting to you know, fill that position of the vice presidency of the Ghana Football Association. Well, as to what will be decided by the collective is something we need to wait and observe. But also remember that that will be a key role going into the next 4 years, and whoever occupies that position will be building themselves up for the main position, which is the presidency of the Ghana FA. Let us remember that George Afriye also emerged from that position and now has placed himself up for this high office. Remember that Fred Papo also played that role and has placed himself up for that high office as well. So remember that being in that space has always given people within football administration bigger dreams and the bigger hunger to serve in bigger capacities. So some persons will emerge in the coming weeks and the coming days as potential candidates for the vice presidency of the Ghana Football Association. There's more in our coverage of the presidential election of the Ghana Football Association here at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. You stay right here on this channel. We'll be back with more.